Oh, the crew is back. The gang is back, fresh off of traveling and vacations, and looks like it was a lot of things happening in pop culture since we've been gone. Gonna talk about it on the other side. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of South Star Classroom. I'm Charles. That's Omar. That's David. That's Jubilee. We missed you all last week, but the world has been worlding since we have been gone. But since we have not seen each other in about 2 weeks, we should have, let's do our whole our check-in. I'm not the check-in icebreaker guy, but I may have missed you. I may, just a tad. I might have missed you all a little bit. David, how are you doing, brother? You look like you just got off a beach, man. You look good, brother. You got the white linen on. Where you coming from?
Yeah, not the beach today, but good to see you all. Yeah, it's been a couple of weeks, and we are still on summer break. We go back to school next week, so we're still kind of in the dog days of summer mode. It's like the hottest time of the year, and so we actually have been spending quite a bit of time at the beach. It's like 20 minutes away. Got out the surfboards, got out the bodyboards, been body surfing. Yeah, it's been good. So
that's what's up, man. It's good to hear from you, man. Miss Jubilee, how about you? How have you been? What's new with you?
All is well. I would like to show you one of my special pieces. It's the heart for all of you.
And she's on the way back.
It didn't break. So I made this in Boston with my son. We were in Boston week before last. All over Cambridge as Sydney was completing his business entrepreneurship program. So that was really dope. We did a lot of walking and a lot of sweating. And a lot of exploration. And so my younger son and I, while Sydney was in class, went to the pottery place and painted these lovely pieces, which is one of my favorite things to do. Is therapeutic. So we always do that together. So yeah, I'm good. School in Maryland starts in about 3 weeks. So August 28th, we're back in the saddle. And so it's all the back to school stuff, the shopping, the mommy, I want my ears pierced, the nose ring, this pair of sneakers or what have you. So that's been Jubilee's life.
That's what's up, man. That's what's up. Omar, Yanar, the world traveler, the superhero, the secret agent. How are you been, brother? What's good with you?
Man, I love that David and you. First off, I got to sing You Caribbean Queen because you were just up in Brazil, hanging out in the Caribbean. David is hanging out, body surfing. Y'all, it's 187 degrees in Texas. Like, dude, it's so damn hot. The transformer behind my mom's box or my mom's house exploded. Just like exploded. Dude, the electrical grid in El Paso is exploding. So like, dude, it's funny until it's not funny. There's a ton of Eastsiders right now with like zero electricity. And like, dude, electrical circuits are frying. There's like car accidents all over the place as a result. It's just like mayhem. So while y'all are like Caribbean Queen, now we're living the same dream. The dream in El Paso is car accidents. People having their transformers blown up, like electrical grids falling, electrical poles falling. It's like a post-apocalyptic mayhem in El Paso. So in other news, we started school last week. So amid all this fantastic stuff, we not only started school, but we have managed to now finally get central air conditioning throughout the entirety of our historic 100-year-old building. So, I mean, that's a big win, man. Like in 182 degree weather with people, dressed up for the apocalypse like it's one of those Purge movies and stuff. Just trying to keep it in stride, man. I got to find out when my Caribbean time is going to be, Doc.
Brother,
when is my Caribbean time?
Listen, Jubilee don't have to jump in on you, but David and I will get you. We have been ever since we've been doing this podcast. You have done more to remote locations or had to go United States, outside United States. I don't know. You might have touched every continent since we've started this joint. I'm waiting for you to say you're going to Antarctica, man. But
on my way, man. On my way. I got to get myself to Patagonia, baby.
Man, well, I was traveling. It was a milestone birthday. I'm absolutely in the middle of an existential crisis. That is a whole different podcast. Maybe we could veer into that one day. But nah, man, just came back, just making a lot of different changes. Like I said, I've gotten rid of half of my social media. So I hope y'all are tuned into this YouTube or whatnot. And but we'll make sure that y'all get everybody else's stuff. And I was saying to Jubilee and Omar before you got here, David, I was asking, you've heard the song "The Girl from Ipanema," right?
Me? Yeah.
This is what I was telling Jubilee. So this is the thing. I've asked all my black friends, and it's 2 out of 11 have identified it by name.
Okay.
7 out of 11 have identified it once I've played it for them. I'm like, it's one of the most popular songs. But anyway, I was in Brazil, and then Ipanema.
And then the one that doesn't know, get rid of them.
No, you knew it when you heard it, Jube. You knew it when you heard it. It was it's a super popular song. It's been redone. It's one of the most beautiful songs in my mind ever. But Ipanema is the next town over from Rio. It was a quick little ride. It actually could have walked. And there's a restaurant dedicated to the song. It's obviously translated into Portuguese, but I ate there, and it has the artist up on the wall, and it was just it was just a beautiful experience. So listening to The Girl from Ipanema while eating in the restaurant, The Girl from Ipanema, it was just a really cool kind of surreal joint. It was kind of up there with when I went to Paris and I sat in the little cheap coffee shop at the time where James Baldwin sat and wrote, which is now a major tourist destination and is very expensive, from this place where this little broke black dude used to smoke cigarettes all day and just write. But it was really cool, man. And I did not want to come back. It was a beautiful, beautiful place. I have to actually travel again next week on just my regular travel schedule. But yeah, man, that's what's been going on. But since we have been away, things have been happening. Things have been happening in the news. It seems that since, there's all this talk from Ron DeSantis around, Black curriculum and things like that, and we've covered it here exhaustively. We've covered the curriculum stuff. We did these things, and now we're seeing cultural things happen. These things, I'm not saying these things are connected, but I think that there might be a spiritual connection. Now, has everybody here seen this video of this brawl that happened over the last week?
I just saw it yesterday. I got my buddy. I should have told
you not to watch it, Omar. I should have told you not to watch it so we could watch it for the first time. But I think, team, this is what I think. I think we should watch it. I'm going to put YouTube. I'm putting up a big courtesy sign so we are not stealing Daily Mail's content. So don't flag my stuff. But I think we should watch it together. What do y'all think? It's I'm going to keep our mics on. Feel free to have whatever reaction in the moment that one needs. For you all out there that are watching and listening to us, there was something that happened over the week that turned into a brawl. There is a warning. There is acts of violence in this, even though that there might be somewhat of a comical nature coming from me and some of my compatriots. I do want to put that out there that we are about to show exactly what happened, because this is a historic moment. And I think it's very, very interesting. So with that being said, let me pull that up. But as I find this video and get that stuff going, did anybody have any comments on anybody's check-in or any of that stuff, man? I just wanted to, make sure folks we haven't had a chance to talk to each other right before we go into the topic. I wanted to make sure I gave people space.
I mean, I'm all good, man.
All right.
Excited to get into this.
Well, all for you, brother. Here you go. Enjoy. I'll do a voiceover for people. So what's happening is there's a commercial boat needs to dock, and this black guy is a security guard, and he's saying you got to move your boat, and things went to hell.
Here we go.
Oh, there go the hat.
Oh, the hat flips. Oh, it starts out as a one-on-one issue, and then families trying to break it up. Oh, then this whole family starts jumping. I see them try to move the little boy back. I didn't see that. The first time.
All right, here we go.
Some solid narration here. Also, Youngblood is in the water.
Call him for backup.
On the way. They said black people don't swim. It's not true.
Yeah. Here comes sea murder.
Here we go.
That young man hopped in the water, and he actually cleared that space kind of quickly too.
Yeah, that's a good freestyle.
The commentary in the back is priceless.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, man.
So now this man is not by himself, and now these people are trying to leave, and they're like, no, it's not gonna happen that way.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Oh,
I see a couple women in the mix there.
yes, there were. It just continued, and yes. Jubilee says she has her Oreos.
Yes, I just finished my first one. Let me get another. Oh no.
There's a crowd forming. There seems to be other actual either police officers or security guards absolutely just watching. Like nobody is.
There's
a whole row of people in that top left corner.
That's terrible.
All right. I think that's pretty much it.
Well, there's actually a lot more, but yeah.
Right. There's a lot more, but now we were going, and like I said, this happened in a few days ago. But just what is people's reaction to this? And again, I know we are an education podcast, but here's the thing, right? Like, it's only just so much literacy topics we can give you and talk about. Like, I've gotten the feedback. You want to hear our takes on things that are happening. So this is something that happened. I'm sure we all got a take. I am absolutely interested in you all's take around what you saw. David.
Yeah. So, I think it's similar to the way that I see things, whether they're happening inside of a school or outside of the school. It's very clear that there's a physical altercation, there's a fight happening, right? Everyone can see that. But where my mind goes is like, what is the antecedent? Like what happened to cause what created the tension? Like I want to know exactly like what led up to this particular physical. I mean, and I know we've all seen it. There's more video, but that's kind of where my mind goes initially. I'm like, this wasn't just random. Something happened, somebody got triggered. And I think, there's a lot to break down there. So that's number one. That's kind of where my head goes. And number two, based on what we saw and based on the rest of the video, I think something that's different about this incident was that no guns were pulled. There were a couple of chairs at some point came out. It was just a good old ass whooping.
Yeah. I mean, that was going to be my thing. Like, like I said, had this been more tragic, we wouldn't be talking about it in the way that it was. It was a scuffle. Yeah. I mean, it was a dust up. Some stuff happened. Some stuff went down. It looks like people from all sides of this, got, whatever happened. But you had that was a lot of insight there for you, brother. Jubilee, what was your reaction when you saw it and everything that came out with it?
Act up and get smacked up. It's very simple. Now, I tell not like I
The
put
cause and
this
effect, ladies and gentlemen, 7th grade.
Listen, let me tell you something, because we always get the speeches, right? Like at on the children's side, like being raised, you get the speeches. Go home, go to school, be kind, don't hit nobody, and really within the past, I don't know, it might have changed in the past. I don't know what my computer is making these sounds. It's annoying. Please stop. Shh. In the past, like maybe 5 to 7 years, I don't know if it's the same. But when I first started in the classroom, we were teaching students how to breathe through things and not be reactive. Are you being bullied? Wow. Think about what that bully might be experiencing. He probably just doesn't like himself. And that's why he keeps pummeling you every day in the schoolyard. You gotta be more empathetic, right? And it's just like, that's interesting. So I should put myself in perpetual harm's way at the expense of someone else who cannot control their emotions, who just can't take no for an answer, who doesn't respect boundaries. No, act up and you get smacked up. If you don't respect my boundaries, then you will get whatever comes with you disrespecting my boundaries. And honestly, now that I'm a mom, right, educator and mom, like within the past few years, I've been teaching my kids that, because there's been times where they've come home, oh, so-and-so hit me. I'm like, did you hit him back? Years ago, when I was still in the classroom or leading a school, my response probably would have been different. Tell the teacher, no. You got to defend yourself. You got to let people know what's up so that they do not cross a boundary. So act up, you get smacked up. Whatever his name is, John, Jack, whatever the dude's name was, that you got what you deserved.
Yeah. Oh,
This message from Jubilee brought to you by Tupac and the song "Hit 'Em Up." You act the F up, you're gonna get smacked the F up. That's how we do it on our side.
Hit 'em up, the Jubilee
Anyone
remix.
from New York don't want to bring it. But we ain't singing, we're bringing drama. And then I think he said disparaging comments about someone's mama.
Yes, he did.
So many things to say about this. So I saw this yesterday. My boy Julio is like, unless you've been living under a rock. And I was like, I guess I've been living under a rock. And he sent me all these things. And my first reaction was like, what the hell? And all I could hear in my head was like, next week, Saturday on Super Slam. We got chainsaws, we got boats, we got pontoon boats, we got fires, we got a spit swap and makeout match in Montgomery. Calling it the Montgomery Mollywhopping. I found out a little bit more information, lots of interesting information. I want to preface this before I get into the WWE of it all. You mentioned James Baldwin, and let's remember that James Baldwin had said, remember, to hate, to be violent is the meaning. It means you're afraid of the other side of the coin, to love and to be loved. There ain't no love here, just like Tupac said. So, hey, if you didn't see the other video, there was some dude with
the chair, baby,
chair, just straight up slamming suckers left and right. They dubbed that video with like WWE commentary.
Oh, yeah.
So it was like, oh, a chair hit. Oh, I don't know if they can take this anymore. A flying elbow. So that was already my first impression. Then I was like, what the hell happened here? So from what I understand, and again, this is all somewhat speculative because we're still kind of getting details, is that the crew, the African-American crew, had a boat. They had the right to dock. And there was some like not so
I think it was like a company. I don't even think it was like an individual. I think it was like a commercial.
Yeah, it was, exactly. And
Yeah.
some like ratchet ass pontoon boat was like parked in their spot. So the security guard comes out and is like, hey, listen, you got to move this boat. And then he was totally ignored. And then he was like, all right, well, I guess they're not going to listen to me. I'll move this boat. And then that's when he got jumped for the efforts. So I just want to bring this thing up because, you know, we want to get back into education when we talk about said things. I think my second reaction after the spit swapping makeout match and tombstone pile drivers and flying knee jabs that I saw on the WWE stuff going on in my head, of which, by the way, I'm a fan of the WWE. So that was probably why I had those initial thoughts, is hypocrisy. And you're probably wondering, like, where the hell is hypocrisy coming from? When we talk about education, white kids are always educated by their parents and by their communities that, hey, law enforcement should be taken seriously. You should always act with reverence and respect to police officers, security, whomever it may be, because they're on your side, right? And then there's been numerous videos throughout the entirety of, you know, the massive crisis in America where African-American kids are getting murdered by cops, and the white rhetoric is, well, you must have done something, because what we teach our kids is that you should have respect for these officers. And it was probably disrespect that led to some of these violent outbursts. So I just want to reiterate, that was what that side said. And I want to be honest here and say, okay, so you say respect authority, respect cops, respect security guards, yet it was some white dude that gave like the Macho Man Randy Savage flying knee to this security guard who is just trying to help a boat dock. And then you and your menagerie of buddies decided to beat his ass because you didn't listen to him when he asked you to move that pontoon boat. I don't know, man. Like, in my book, that's some like crazy ass hypocrisy.
But let's go one further. Hypocrisy. Let's go one further. The dude was doing his job. Like, he wasn't some random dude that just was like, oh man, the boat can't dock. Let me overstep my boundaries and try to help these people dock the boat. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't belong here. I just want to help them. This dude was at work doing his job, right? Which is to enforce and reinforce whatever the expectations of that company or organization was. And he couldn't get no peace. And when you saw that man shift to, now, how many times did he have to say whatever he was saying to them? Repeatedly, still no respect. He said it over and over again. When he got to clapping his hands, you knew he done said it at least 3 times, and still no respect. Why? And people say, what does race have to do with it? Y'all always talking about race has something to do with it. Race is not a part of everything. But prove to me it's not in this case.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fairly simple situation. So we talked about the antecedent earlier. Omar talked about it. If you've spent any time on boats, you understand, like, you know, docking in different places, there's signage, especially if it's like in a kind of, if there's any kind of like public dock like that was, there's generally going to be an area where you can't dock because they have these large river boats or whatever they are, right? It's like parking in a, you know, parking and blocking a bus stop.
Yeah,
you just don't
like
do it, right?
Or something, right?
Yeah. And okay, hey, you park here. Can you please move your car because the bus is coming in? That's essentially what happened here. And these guys just couldn't stomach it, right? And so and they were triggered. You know, I mean, we can guess. I'm going to assume that they were triggered because a black man was telling them what they needed to do. And they got triggered, right? And they went straight to they didn't know what to do. It's like oh my God, we're not going to move our boat. Now we feel disrespected, you know, all over. Like, move your boat 15 feet down the dock. Is it really that big of a deal? But then it becomes about your pride. A black man is telling me what to do. We've probably been out on the river drinking some Bud Lights or whatever they drink. They drink Bush beer. I don't know what they drink. You know,
Shaper, baby, Shaper. They got that, you know, Shapers, baby.
It's a bad combination of things, man. And so, yeah, so they resort to violence. And, you know, again, like, general rule of thumb, of course, you have to protect yourself. That's what the guard was doing. People came in to protect him. But at the end of the day, it doesn't solve anything. I think a couple people got arrested. Some people got hurt pretty bad. I mean, nobody got like their head stomped. Some people got hit over the head with some plastic chairs. You know, it wasn't like, it could have been a lot worse is what I'm saying. So but all over a fundamental like thing, like, you know, you just don't put your boat here. The video that the people were taking were actually on that big boat that was trying to dock, and then once it is able to dock, there's a whole other, probably more graphic, not graphic, but just like things just got sideways.
Yeah,
that
man.
happened after that. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I look at it, there's a few things. I call this the it shouldn't have happened, but it did situation. Like a lot of things shouldn't have happened. You shouldn't have swung on dude, but you did. And then it was a one-on-one fight. At which point, those family members or friends could have came and broke it up. But you jumped him. You shouldn't have jumped him, but you did.
Yeah.
And then other people see, like, you know, I'm a big Eddie Murphy fan. I love Ron Delirious. I know people say it did not age well. I hear you, all that. It is my favorite. It is my favorite stand-up twosome of all time. And he talks about a brawl that happened in one of those things where, well, he's like, can't see the black people can't just see the black person getting jumped by all these people getting knocked out. So all these black people that don't even know this man came, and then, you know, at that point, then you see a retreat happening. Then this is like, I pinpoint this to like the Karen moment where it's like, I done did my thing, I done got my shit off. Now I want peace, or now I want things to be cool. Now I need some officials. It's like, no, this thing is in motion now. So you see them retreating, and now these people look like the aggressor. And if there wasn't video, or I could see somebody doctoring that thing and making it look a certain type of way, and they got with you. I saw women jump in, and then things happen in a brawl. And then it's like, well, a man shouldn't listen, man. I hear you. A lot of shit should not have happened, but it did.
Yeah.
And if you jumping in a brawl, like, you know, like I said, the one responsible thing I saw them folks do was when that little white boy was trying to get his licks in. I did see one of the adult white people push him away, like, take your butt over there. But it has become a social and cultural phenomenon that, like, we have seen. And the funniest thing has been the white people that have been making these videos in solidarity for black people. No, it's just been like in very country,
been really great.
F around, find out type of situations, man.
Right. And
yeah, go ahead.
They flipped that Small Town song, right? Right. That's what they flipped. I've seen videos like using that, you know,
like Small Town, like Dunkirk or Malika. Oh yeah.
No. It's like that new country song. You know, you can't.
Well, is somebody gonna sing it? So is somebody gonna sing it?
I have never listened to the song. I know it was super controversial. I don't know if that song even directly named race, but I think that dude.
The video did for sure.
Oh, okay, yeah. I think it was just you know, because here's the thing. I know some black people that feel like that, or people that just.
So you know, Montgomery, Alabama is a big city, but still compared to like LA and New York,
it's a small town vibe.
It's a small town. So small town works both ways.
It does. I mean, listen, human beings work in certain ways, man. Look, I'm not gonna go. I'm in Chicago. I'm in like one of the most segregated places, and I don't even mean that in like a negative way. Like, you can go. There are like authentic Irish pubs here, and you can go and you can have a good time. I have no intention of going there and starting a fight as the only black person or a few black people in an Irish pub. And I don't think that they would go into the south side of Chicago and try to do that either. I think that common sense, this is the thing. We are in the age where common sense no longer exists. We are in the age of whoever is the clickiest with their fingers on social media, they get to make these rules, and a lot of them are not steeped in reality. And there's always a what should be happening, like, oh, this is how it should be. And you are raising a generation of people, or there's a bunch of adults in this world that are operating off of Twitter logic of what should be, and they are clashing with real world things. You hit somebody tends to hit you back. You jump somebody that's by themselves, you can't then be surprised when people that look like that person come in and jump you. And, you know, and I really hope that a lot doesn't happen. I hope that the police kind of see it as like, hey, this is a wash. Like, this thing shouldn't have happened. You shouldn't have assaulted this person, and these are the consequences that had it. Put some ice on your face. I hope everybody's okay. Like, and kind of keep it pushing, because I think everybody got a lesson that day. That's what I think. But
I still feel like old dude should get a ticket. Do like what you do to us when you want to bother us.
No.
Give that dude a ticket and
Give him a citation. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah,
Right.
get some ice for your face and all of that. Don't do that no more. Don't hit people, because I have to commend the officer or the security guard, whatever the name of his role is, or his constraint or his restraint, because he never like struck the dude, and that's like really frustrating to talk to somebody about the same thing over and over again. And he never shifted to physical aggression, you know?
Yeah.
But like, because your non-respectful self caused this to be a dragged out situation, this is a business and operation. How many people you think were on that boat? I'm sure they paid to be on that boat.
And they were all black too.
Exactly, right? So this is somebody's business, and
Messed
you're
with the wrong boat.
obstructing the operation of this business because you got your podunk boat over here. So after you get the ice for your face, pay this fine too, and get up out of here.
I think, so in I don't want to go too far out on a tangent. However, looking at this situation, and then some experiences that I've had, I'm sure you've all had, we've seen it on social media, coming out of the stress of the pandemic, which we've all experienced in different ways. People with, I would say, more privilege going into the pandemic have had a harder time coming out of the pandemic. I know myself as a man of color, I've had to deal with, things well before the pandemic around being harassed and being judged and being discriminated against and all of those things. It's just, it's par for the course with having the color of the skin that I have, right? And so I think, coming out of the pandemic, I've had several experiences here, even locally, where people just get triggered so easily, whether it's at the grocery store or on the street, or it's at the post office. Somebody wants to check out faster and the cashier is only going so fast. Even yesterday, I had a woman, I was at a local store, and the cashier, she was an older woman. She was helping out an older customer, and they were moving really slow. That's how it is, right? And I was waiting, and then there was some woman behind me who was like on my neck, like thinking that that's going to help move the situation. I'm like, I'm waiting like you are. So she's on my neck, and I'm like, okay, older white woman. I'm like, don't do anything, don't say anything. I get to the counter, I greet the cashier woman, and she's moving slow. She's making small talk. I'm talking with her. All of a sudden, there's like, you're in line. You're supposed to be like 5 feet from the I don't want her to see my pin. All of a sudden, I turn around and she's on my neck again. Like I didn't say anything to her, but in my mind, like if those things happen in certain contexts, like if I was in Oakland, like somebody's gonna get hit or pushed, because you don't get so close to somebody, especially from behind. Like I'm taught to like look around 360 all the time. And yeah, she was like right up on me, and I was like, what is going through her mind, right? It's like this privilege thing of like, I get to go first. Same thing in this situation. Simple thing. Move your pontoon boat. We have this big river boat coming in. Very simple. Guys, they couldn't deal with it, right? They couldn't deal with the simple thing, man. They wanted to be at the front of the line. You don't get to be at the front of the line.
And here's my question, David. Like, what happens if this was reversed? Like, I want us all to sit here with this hypothetical. Let's reverse this. So you had a bunch of like, white folks on a business yacht or whatever it may be that these folks are on, and you got some pontoon boat parked there, and you got a white security guard who's just trying to take this down, and you had a bunch of black people jump this dude. Like, if the whole thing was reversed, what would have been the implications?
The Alabama boat massacre. Because
yeah.
I mean, they would have been dead, and it would have been blood in the river.
I don't know if it would have gotten physical, but I will tell you, their boat would have gotten confiscated and towed. Yeah. And they would have been arrested, minimum.
You would have seen a bunch of people on the ground in zip ties, or
right.
Like, it would have been
the whole thing.
And I don't know, maybe that's how this ended. I have no idea, but I get what you're saying. Look, man, I think there's a few different things, like you said, at play. I think a lot of people are on edge. I think that we are in an interesting time as a country, which is why I like people are just on edge. There was actually a CNN article, not article, but a CNN news video that just came out about the violence in Oakland. And one of my friends, he's actually hired me for my first job that turned into me being a social worker. Darren White was on there. and they were just talking about how bad it's like getting, right. Like, so I lived there during the 90s and the early 2000s, where, remember, David, they used to put out a paper. There was a newspaper article every year, and the front page would just have a map of Oakland and where all the homicides in the city had happened. And so the homicides are down, but now everything else is a burglary, theft, all this stuff, and Oakland's just having a moment. But it's like they were talking to this larger thing about people are just very timid of every race and every culture, like, and it's like everybody's on edge, like everybody is kind of headed to this place, and we got to figure out how this is gonna operate, man. And we're seeing it play out in different ways. This is just one of the ways it's playing out. The laws in Florida is another way that it's playing out. Like the bipping and the bribing and the things in Oakland is a way that this is playing out. And we have history. We have history of what happens when this level of tension, this level of steam is starting to fill up, and there's no place for it to come out. We've had, there have been riots. There have been wars that started from this like level of unrest. And I mean, if we don't get a handle on this stuff, if us as American people, wherever you are, right? And I say this as a Black man, if there's not a vestibule or a way to like, I mean, I think even me leaving social media and like having whatever, me leaving and like, I mean, I'm about to change my phone number. Like I done had the same phone number since college. It's time to get new stuff. But I think even some of that stuff is residue from just where things are. And I think that everybody's going through what they go through, and you got cocaine on top of it in this thing called social media. What happens when you add a stimulant to an already crazy situation? Like what happens when there's a fire and you pour lighter fluid on it? And I think that this is where we are right now, man. So, how should people be talking to their kids? Like this kind of goes into education. I don't even know if schools necessarily need to come up, but we've been getting away from some principles as just a people. Like, so how should people be discussing this with their kids, or when it comes up in school and school's happening and kids are sharing the video and, all that stuff, or this powder keg is happening there? Like what lessons should we be passing down?
Listen, I do think schools are a part of it, because you already know, like you said, they're going to look at the video, they're going to share it at school. It's coming up in school. It's coming up in the cafeteria. It's coming up in the schoolyard. And I think the worst thing that we could do as educators and leaders is to kind of just, hide our faces and, turn a deaf ear and a blind eye to it, as if we don't know what's happening. But mutual respect goes a long way. Like you can hate somebody, right? You can hate the color of my skin, my culture, my language, all the things, but still find a way, right? Even though it's superficial, right? But still find a way to coexist peacefully. Like if you don't want to do the work, if you want to let all of your implicit biases, if you want to be a bigot, if you want to be a racist, right? At the very least, you could be respectful. Mutual respect could have stopped that situation that happened on Sunday or whatever day it was. If the dude made a request, hey, you can't park here, my bad, let me move my boat. Thank you so much.
Easy.
I want to
easy.
I kind of want to put a wrench in this question, because I get it, in that, like, what should we be talking to kids about at school
or to each other?
And I get it. Look, I want to address this head on, but like, me, I get a little conspiratorial and kind of ingrained in like the weeds of what is going on in our schools. So we're not allowed to talk about race in schools. We're not allowed to talk about books in schools. There's books bannings and all this stuff. I'm wondering, like, are governors of specific states, namely like Texas and Florida, to be perfectly honest, as an example, like, do you think that they're pushing this hatred forward? Because as you ask, what should we be discussing in schools? You have contradictory, almost executive actions from these governors basically saying, oh, you're not allowed to talk about that. In fact, what you need to talk about is this whole thing that slavery was like, a good thing because it taught essential skills. And if you're not talking about that curriculum, you're out of curriculum, and we're going to fire a teacher, because teachers have been fired for engaging in solid, critical conversations with their students about race relations, and they're getting fired left and right. So I'm all for having these conversations in schools and letting the students try to sort it all out and giving them space to sort it out while trying to mediate it without interjecting opinion. But I kind of want to throw a wrench and ask you all, is that even possible with a current political state that we see from some of these governors?
I mean, I think it's definitely adding fuel to the fire. I think where you have ignorance, it is easier to, plant and sow the seeds of hatred, right, and racism. For sure. I think where you have places and spaces where you can like have an open dialogue about difficult topics, right, like the history of the United States of America. And you can work through a common understanding. We can start to see one another as like, we see the humility in one another, right? So we're less likely to take off on somebody because he asked us to move our pontoon boat, right? The guy was just trying to do his job, right? It's a weekend. I don't know what he gets paid per hour. Not enough. Hopefully he gets a GoFundMe. But I do think, connected to your question, Omar, is like, where did this happen?
Yeah.
This happened in Montgomery, Alabama, right? A very incredible, like historical area, city, that obviously goes back to, pre-colonial, pre-slavery days. But if you look at, this is where the first Confederate White House was. It was in Montgomery, Alabama, right? So I'm putting my history teacher hat on. Hell yeah, I'm teaching about this on the first day.
Jefferson Davis was hanging out.
Right, I'm teaching about this on the first day of school, right? And we're going to talk about the area where this happened, and we're going to talk about, the legacy of slavery. It was a major like slave port there in that same area. Leading up to the civil rights movement and MLK, and I mean letters from at Birmingham jail, but you get where I'm going. Like this area, this region is so rich in the history of our country. So fast forwarding, I think there's a tremendous opportunity to teach this moment. This is what we call it's an event now. It is now part of our history. It's a historical artifact, right? And we should absolutely be showing it to kids and just talking about all of the issues that stem from it, right? For sure. So
yeah, man. I actually like the question the way you refocused it, man. I just started making a list of just like I think everybody's feeling it. I think a lot of people are feeling it, right? And I wrote down there's a bunch of racial anxieties, right? There's a bunch of like, if you Black, you feel like a lot of your stuff is like, whoa, are they trying to roll this back, or what's kind of happening? What's going on? If you're a brown person, you like, yo, like there's a lot of big decisions coming up. Like the population is about to shift, and there's issues within the Black community, there's issues within the brown community. There's the issue that we just saw with the Supreme Court about, affirmative action and what meta message that's saying. And I think there's a lot of white people, especially those that are poor, that are sick of hearing about certain privileges, right? Like, stop telling me I'm privileged if I live in a trailer. Like, stop telling me that and I'm going through this stuff, right? And a lot of this, I'm not going to take it no more. Bud Light, like we made a joke about Bud Light. Bud Light is about to now sell off. Like, they have to sell off 8 of their companies. Like, they're selling off 8 of their companies. And like the CEO came down and said, we lost billions of dollars when we tried to do the flag thing and all that stuff. That person I think was fired. There's a new person that's trying to right that ship, right? Like,
it just came out today.
There's that. The price of food is up. The price of gas is up. We're not sure what's necessarily happening with the economy. And also on top of this, social media proliferation, meaning social media is making people stars every single day. So people are looking for viral moments of virality and are pontificating and performing in this space. And now there's a generation of young people that will be entering your school, Omar, that are not seeing the truth. They're getting this kind of filtered TikTok truth or Twitter truth, where you don't get famous on social media by being sweet and nice and thoughtful.
Tabitha Brown did. Tabitha Brown did.
Yeah, Tabitha Brown. I love Tabitha Brown. Kev on stage is great too. I love these very positive people, right? But for the most part, it is snark. Snark is the thing. I don't know if anybody watched that Black Mirror episode, right? Like they did the analysis, right? It was
I did. Yeah, it was that first episode of the new season. Yeah, where they're like, we could be positive, but no one gives a shit.
That was the thing, right? That was the question. They said, well, why can't we show a positive slant on these people? And they're like, we tried that, and that's not what gets eyes, right? It's not
how our brains work.
It's not how brains work. It's not a stimulus. It's not a stimulus, right? Like the way the world is turning everybody into like dope fiends, man. Like, and you need stimulation. Everybody like you needs a hit. So when you add on what you're talking about, Omar, it's not hard to fan those flames and be DeSantis and say, yo, I'm gonna feed into that base. And on the other side, to be very fair, it's not hard for Gavin Newsom to do it in the opposite direction, right?
Right.
The CNN piece was black people in the NAACP in Oakland saying we actually don't want to ban on cops. That's actually not what we need. We actually need this, and crime is going up, and it's going against a narrative, right? So we are living in a world of extremes right now.
Yeah.
And how do you bring a new group of kids from the brink of extremes on either side, or you said this thing wrong, we got to cancel you, we got to get you out of here, versus like, you know, I got my shotgun ready and I'm ready for whoever. Try that in a small town if you want to. I'm ready.
Right. Yeah.
Like it's everybody. It's a powder keg, and like how, you know, our churches are not as prominent as they were anymore. Religious institutions as a whole for every single race are not as prominent as they were and don't have the same level of influence. So what do we do as a people? Do we just fucking explode and combust? Oh, and on top of that, it's 207 degrees in Texas right now.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
Now that I've painted the bleakest dystopian world in a country that people, and by the way, I was just international, people are still fighting tooth and nail to get into this place still.
Yeah, man. I mean, I literally just saw a story of two like Nigerians that literally sat on the rudder of a cargo ship on a 2-week, you know, they're like sitting on the propeller of this ship to get to South America somewhere, just to get to the Americas.
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
right.
Oh my goodness.
When I was in Brazil, there was a demonstration. Like, I'm like, what's happening? It's like, oh, like there was a black woman that was killed a few years ago, and like, but it like flooded the street. Like the streets were flooded. Like I'll send it to you all in our group text. It's like I have this beautiful view of like the beach, and I mean, oh my God, it's just gorgeous. And then you just see this wave of people kind of coming down, and I didn't understand what the chant was, but you can kind of make it out with context clues. So I mean, it's not just America, right? Like it's kind of happening all at once. And what does that lead to? Especially, you know, I also just watched Oppenheimer a few weeks ago and the bombs and stuff, right? So I'm like, I'm trying not to let my mind go to a lot of crazy places. But if we don't figure out how to be human beings and decent with each other, there's only the answers and what's going to happen and can happen. Those things get smaller and smaller, and they tend to lead to a lot of bloodshed.
And look, man, I typically get, like I said, conspiratorial, but I just had a really big click moment. So I'm watching Oppenheimer.
Don't lose that, because I don't want us to go over too much, but I love Jubilee as co-producing right now. She reminded us we got this consulting and free game pieces coming in. So go ahead. You make your point, Omar, and then we're going to wrap it in to throw it to Drew back to you.
Yeah,
good job, Drew.
I was watching Oppenheimer this weekend, right? And I watched it with my niece. I watched it with my mom. And like, without like being so aggrandized about my bona fides, I got 3 degrees, all of them in politics and history. Mm-hmm. Like my level of understanding of historical context and why we've done things politically is deep. I have read like 17 books on World War II. And I was basically explaining to my niece and my mom about, you know, this whole thing with the bomb. They made such a good point in the movie about saying that this was not about ending World War II. This was really about demonstrating a proliferation of power at the beginning of the Cold War. And it couldn't have been more true. Like, every book that I've ever read on World War II is basically that, like, dude, the Germans surrendered. FDR and Truman had more, and by the way, FDR was dead by the very end.
Right.
But he even had information dating back that, like, Japanese surrender was going to be imminent if we were able to take down the Germans, because essentially the economic power, the war machine power of weaponry, and even just like standard things like boots and stuff were getting mass produced in Germany, and the Japanese were going to have like a difficult time continuing without all that. And people are like, no, they were kamikaze. We had to do this. Right. We had to do this to end it. And I'm like, that's just not historically accurate. So I'm having this discussion, and there was some like dude like in the same row who clearly wanted to participate, but you know, my man was just like Marjorie Taylor Greene, and he was like, lies. Mm-hmm. Like, I kind of start cracking up a little bit, but like, I'm not having a conversation with male Marjorie Taylor Greene. I'm having a conversation with my family. And what I wanted to say to homeboy was like, first, the homeboy, let me see your credentials. I got 3 degrees from 3 real fancy places because, you know, what do you got? I read 17 books on this war. What do you got? It's so easy for people to just sit there and scream lies and gaslight and create doubt when you bring no evidence to the table, no credentials to the table, have no education, and have no understanding of historical context. And this is what really bothers me, Doc, is that I've read enough and know enough about Howard Zinn to tell you that this powder keg is something that rich people would not mind seeing happen. This has happened 1,000 times in American history.
Yeah.
And to them, to the Greg Abbotts of this world, even to like DeSantis and even, you know, Gavin Newsom, yo, you have race riots going on in the street. They're not going to get affected. They're sitting, you know, cool and high harmony in their mansions in a pocket of population that has absolutely no denigrating effects as to what happens on the streets.
Out of touch.
So
out of touch.
You are
man.
absolutely right that we're amid a race crisis. We're amid a powder keg. But I gotta ask the like pertinent question: Is this not what rich people want to see? Having us all fight each other, because it takes away all the attention from the atrocities that they're doing. Watch Jon Stewart for just a minute and kick back and watch the fact that like we're getting put into jail at record rates for like small crimes like talking back to the police are killed. Meanwhile, people like Trump and these corporations are getting away with millions, billions of dollars of tax evasion. And it's totally cool because they're rich and white. So this is history once again repeating itself. And I mentioned the Oppenheimer story because this is a dude who just didn't know history and just blurting out lies. How many of those ignorant people are running around America right now wanting to ignite this powder keg because they don't know why this powder keg is happening in the first place, man? That shit worries me. It worries me.
Man, look, we always do this. We get this conversation this is a really good conversation. I could do a whole nother hour on this, but and Jubilee, I appreciate you keeping us on track. Don't lose that, Omar. I feel like we might need to find a way to bring that back in, because I think we were starting to get into, you know, we need some to let that kind of unpack and let that breathe again at some point. I think doing the way that we did was a good thing. Jubilee, you can take us over. But I want to introduce this new segment that you're talking about. So let me do this the right way. So Jubilee, the floor is yours, and lead us, leader. Go ahead, lady.
Absolutely. So we are the South Star Classroom, and we are a podcast. We are also a consultancy group, and we all have our niches. So in this segment, we're going to give you what I'll call free game. I think I'm going to come up with some kind of alliteration, because, you know, we need like a fancy little name. But today we're going to call it niche notes. That's what we're going to call it. Niche notes. That's what we'll call it. We're just going to share for 30 to 60 seconds something that we feel could be a tool or a takeaway for you, for our viewers, in your current work connected to this issue or connected to this time of year, whatever you're seeing for those that you are working with, for those that, if it's also happening in your schools, wherever you are, just as long as it is relevant. So I'm going to start with pouring into children and not getting distracted. So keeping the main thing the main thing. So listening to the whole, like the powder keg theory, which I agree with 1,000%. Listening to what Charles said around social media proliferation and all these things. At the end of the day, even though they are all true and all taking up space, like in reality, they also can serve as distractions. And so for me, as an educator, as a leader, as a mom, I think it's important for us to keep the main thing, which is really our country's future, which really are our children. And it's like, how can we continue to pour into them? How can we ensure that we're teaching them how to be conscious, critical thinkers? How do we engage in conversation with them that help them to look at, a story or something that's being reported or shared from multiple perspectives so that they can draw their own conclusions? Because these politicians that we're talking about, the ones that we feel like have so much power, were once children. They once were sitting at a breakfast table, a dinner table. They once were, on a soccer field or in the back of their parents' car, whoever was raising them, and someone was indoctrinating them. Someone was passing on some sort of belief system that, if not fully, at least in part, is influencing how they are running the country, the information that they're passing down. And so I think if we continue to just look at those that are in power now, and just kind of get upset with them and do all the things that we can to get them out of office and all of that, we've only done part of the work. I think the bulk of our work should be with how we are engaging with our children, because they are the future and they will be in these seats. That's my niche note for today.
Who's next,
I'm passing the ball. You said something, Charles?
I said, who's next?
Charles.
Oh, okay. Got you. I think my niche note is as we have this conversation and just in general, I think similar to David and Omar, I too, we're just political like theory nerds. Like I think we're all poli-sci undergrad majors. Like I think I do love history. I love reading history, and not that I love the things that happen in history, but I like I think wisdom tends to be cyclical. That's I don't love I didn't enjoy the Oppenheimer movie because of what happened in it, but it was just, there were just things that I didn't know that put in context about things that I had read. But I think there's a lot of lessons there to be had. And so the one good thing about history and unfettered history, like not putting your lens on it, like just give me the facts of exactly what happened with no emotion. And I think there's just a lot of two things that come out of it. There's a lot of wisdom there. And then you just also these things have happened before. This is not the first time that this has happened. This country has been in this type of social unrest before. There have been let's not even look at this country. I remember reading about Rome as an empire. And I remember when they started talking about the fall of Rome and the things that were happening in the fall of Rome. And if you put those things right next to the things that we are seeing, like empires fall, no empire lasts forever. And I think that you have to know and understand that in order to be able to confront it and to be able to confront it in an honest way. So I guess my niche note is that continue to just educate yourself in where has this kind of happened before and what can I learn from it, and have critical conversations, not just with your children, but with your community. Like not just like there's a space to talk about what you feel, but there also needs to be a space where you are processing what has actually happened from a factual standpoint. And if you mix human decency in there, I really think that it could exponentially be helpful. And learn to protect yourself. I think that is just a key of life. I think it is a key of survival. I think regardless if you are religious or a Darwinist, you will learn in both of those places that protecting yourself is a fundamental humanistic right. And I think that this video that we started off with was a small example of that. And I hope it doesn't have to be a larger one that comes after. David, I will go to you next.
All right, cool. Yeah, I love this segment. So quickly, I would say, especially given the time of year and what we talked about today, for parents and for especially for, depending on the grade levels that you're at in school. Don't be afraid to have these conversations around the things that your children are seeing. So what, regardless of, how, a lot of parents probably assume that their kids aren't seeing these things, and I can guarantee you your kids are seeing these things, right? So whether you're a parent or whether you are working in a school and a teacher, we should be setting up spaces to have dialogue around what children are seeing in the world. They should be happening at home in a facilitated way. They should be happening in school in a facilitated way, and they should also be happening, more importantly, in the home too. So I think that's, especially as schools are kind of kicking off this week and next week and the week to follow. It's important, especially given everything that's happening in the world right now. We cannot ignore these things, and we owe it to our young people to help them to make meaning of these things. That's number one. Number two, on topic, off topic, especially given everything that's happening in the world right now, it's really important for schools to be warm, welcoming spaces for children. So just a reminder out there to everyone, if you're a teacher, if you're a school leader, make sure that you're communicating with families about things that are happening at school. If you are a principal, make sure that you are supporting your teachers so that they can be prepared to really send out those like early first couple of weeks of school, positive communication home, to establish a positive connection between the school, classroom teachers, specialists, and the family. That from the perspective of being a parent, that goes a long way to say, like, my kid's school, my kid's teachers, they authentically care. And I think especially given everything that's happening right now, it's really important that schools are places that are not just showing it, not just saying it, but they're also like demonstrating that they are places of authentic care for children.
Mm-hmm. All right, man. And take us home over here, good brother.
Man, I got so many things to say. One,
come on, international man of mystery.
This dude, to kind of jump off of what David was saying, there's an organization called Big Picture Learning. I really want people to look into it. It's an exemplary organization with brilliant people. And one of the major facets of the organization is having a really well-run advisory at your school. Mm-hmm. You're like, what the hell is advisory for? It's just like, it turns into homework time or a study time. I'm like, listen, a well-run advisory is that one opportunity to have in the day where kids can relate to each other on emotional issues, social issues, have space to talk about not just feelings, but really things like this incident, things that need processing in a safe space where they can talk to one another to really process what they're seeing in the world out there. Because where are we creating space in school between math class and biology and even social studies where you're like, look, I want to talk about this, but this is world history and we got to talk about like Achilles right now. Sorry. Like the Trojan Wars takes precedence over, the what was it? The Montgomery.
Oh, see, look, COINTELPRO
got
him.
They keep getting him.
COINTELPRO got him. Hey, that's
what was the code? He said a code word. I don't know what the code word was,
yeah,
they got him. They got him.
I think he said Alabama, and they was like, nah,
this
cutting you off,
ridiculous.
Cutting you off, man. But I mean, I will say, I've definitely enjoyed. Today was fun. It was fun to be back. And you all keep sending us messages about the type of topics you want to see us cover. I think, I really think we were able to get in there and, we still learning and stuff like that. I thought that was really, really cool. So I'm going to close this out unless anybody has anything else to say. Is there anything else that you need to say, Jube? Or
yes, follow us on Instagram, The South Star Classroom. We have 96 followers and we need to get to 100, okay, by the end of the week. Matter of fact, by tomorrow. Y'all can do that.
Yeah.
So,
why is a man always trying to kick me out?
We'll come back to you. Jube is doing our go ahead, Jube.
Perfect.
Yeah, so follow us on Instagram, The South Star Classroom, and also you can follow Dr. Charles Coles III. His YouTube page. Our episodes are all on there. Leave us some comments, and we will definitely write back to you.
Absolutely. And did you want to? I know we were closing out, but I want you to be able to finish your thought.
Yeah, man. Thank you. I think I covered the advisory thing. Make your history class a critical thinking class. Get books like Lies I Learned in History. Get books by Howard Zinn. Get a book called The United States of Distraction about how media ultimately is just distracting you from what's really going on. This whole thing in Montgomery is the powder keg that Doc was talking about, but there's an underlying, I think, reason that things like this are allowed to happen in this country. And it is because I think there's a group of people in this country that benefit from having such race riots. So that's just my final thought. Jubilee, thank you for closing us out. Just want to thank everybody at the South Star for a great episode today, man. It was pretty dope.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, with that being said, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and we'll see you all next week. Same bad time, same bad station. Peace out.